Welcome to the internet. Here, where we make things digitally, live, as human beings incarnate into, well, what, right? How much we've been talking a lot about like art and where we make it and what do we do with it, but how long is it going to be before I am not me talking to you on my screen? Because what if I fed a robot these words, which I'm improvising off the top of my head right now, to make it authentic and real and artistic and not at all computer generated? Because here I am in my incarnate self speaking to you with my breath and my voice and wanting you to share with me the joy of being makers in a creation of our Lord. And yet we are constantly being tempted yet again by tools that can give us beauty and experience and mystery, just like that, right? If you could just make you have this image in your mind and you can make it instantly, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you, I don't know, eat the apple of the AI? Welcome to the Mosaic Ark. Oh. Did you see that? Did you see? They were behind the scenes. Did you get it right? I did that on
I'm
purpose.
just happy I wasn't picking my nose.
Oh my gosh!
That would have been worse.
How incarnate can we be, ladies? You will recognize that we have another wonderful friend who's joined us tonight to carry on our conversation about art. This is Sarah, whom Kim and I, we totally ladies night. We do nothing but ladies nights now. Kim and I met last year at BaseCon and learned, of course, this is how we grabbed her and said, "You must come sit with us. you must come sit with us because you're another Catholic."
And I wasn't even saying anything. It was just like, hey, there's some objective reality that people need to acknowledge. And you're like, oh, you must be a believer.
See how easy it is to tell? I mean, this is like how could if only we could parse the robots that quickly, right? So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us. And this is ironically we're going to be talking about the visual art, but we met as writers at BaseCon. So it would be lovely if you could just tell everyone a little bit about your work and where you come from and why on earth you would want to join us to talk about being Catholic in the art world. No, just if you could just say a little bit about your own project so that you get the right boost before we get into the details and me making more mistakes about what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, I was trained as a fine artist and grew up in a house full of Catholic artists. But I also really love reading and writing. And when I got to a stage in my life when the kids were quiet enough that I could concentrate on writing, I drug out my old projects that I had abandoned earlier and revitalized them into this series that I'm doing as sort of a future noir, techno thriller, psychological drama series called Beyond Cascadia. And so that's my main artistic outlet at the moment, although I still do fine art on the side. And I'm looking to combining both of them with my degree in drawing to maybe doing a graphic novel, at least of book one, and then maybe some other visual related projects that are also with my writing.
See, this is what was it was interesting for me when we met at BaseCon. I thought I was thinking of you primarily as a writer because that was the rubric under which Rob put you on our panels, right? Various we did it.
Hmm.
We you and I did a panel on was it religious imagination or
Religions in fiction, kind of world
okay.
building.
Yeah, and you were on another one as well. That's how I grabbed you after that first panel,
Yeah, that
and
was
you said
about
something, and I was like,
dystopia. It was about dystopians.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
she needs to come talk with us because well, and what's funny is like yes, I said it's like if you believe in reality, and we have a feeling that there is a creator and we're in a real world, and therefore it matters, everything changes, right? It's like the sort of frame of fantasy that we're working in is fundamentally different, I say, if we're doing it from a Catholic perspective, which I
Just
wouldn't
look,
have recognized until recently because it's just so frustrating trying to explain to us everybody what we're doing. It's like it's Catholic, okay?
yeah, we were talking about dystopian fiction just the other day in the chat, and I don't understand its popularity, and it's continuing and increasing popularity because it's to me it seems kind of hopeless. I mean, I know Catholics who like it too. My husband just loves that kind of stuff, but I was wondering if you had any opinions on that.
Yeah, actually I do. And I have to look at like, okay, why did I get into this telling the story in this particular setting? And I think it has to do with maybe some sort of a subconscious imitative magic type thing. Like if I create this world, which it looks like where our world is going, um, I can control it and I can be prepared for the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can put in some good things. Or, I can shape a reality that is a bit better than what we see
Oh,
happening.
or I can
That's what
fix
I
it.
think I was doing as a kind of a way of working through 2020 and my mom's death and all that
Mm.
kind of stuff. Because when I was first outlining the stories, it was fairly dark. I wouldn't say nihilistic because there was still a presence of God and some providence and so forth in it, but it was kind of like really pessimistic, at least, if not nihilistic. But then as
Mm.
I was approaching, still working on my plot, it's like, well, this isn't the kind of story that anybody's going to ever want to pick up and reread if everything's bad, if the endings are always bad. Why
Yeah.
not go ahead and do a sort of a kind of dystopian cyberpunk story where like good things happen and the good guys do win and some nice things happen, but they're still struggling under like corporate and government um, oppression, but they have some
Yes.
victories too. So that's how that was my approach to it. But I don't
Okay, that
like
makes
reading.
sense.
I mean, I went recently read Neuromancer. I'd never read Neuromancer before, but I knew it was really influential. And so I'm reading it, and of course, it's like, wow, this really is influential. I can see where we've all gotten our ideas from this, but man, is it dark and horrible, and I hate the
Mm.
Oh,
characters, and I'm never going to reread it, and I'm not going with the rest of his books.
oh wow.
It's
That's quite an
very well written,
impression.
beautifully written, but almost overwritten because sometimes you're like, what's happening in this scene? The character's doing what? Where? How?
Mm.
But still worth reading if you're interested in the genre, but it was like, no, that's not where I want to go with it. So mine's kind of more, I'd say more techno thriller, psychological than dystopia.
So more hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
So I haven't read Neuromancer. I don't think I have.
It's a great name.
Yeah,
Wow,
who
based on the
wrote that?
name.
Gibson. It's William Gibson.
Okay, I'm surprised that I haven't read it. What kinds of things do you it's interesting reading those formative books later when everybody else has been riffing off of them,
Mm-hmm.
and then you read them themselves and they feel derivative because
Exactly.
they
Exactly.
they were the start, right? What kinds of things would you say that you recognize now came out of that?
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like corporations, huge global corporations controlling everything, and everybody's got like neural implants, and they're like online interacting a lot, and people are treated like commodities and stuff. I don't think he had very many robots, but he did have like kind of like cryogenics and maybe some genetic engineering. It was really complicated and kind of hard, murky. Let's just say kind of murky.
Mm-hmm.
But all those things going in this sort of like a political thriller, espionage. There's some kind of MacGuffin thing that they were after, fighting an AI, a big, powerful AI.
Oh, okay. So we say, in some ways that sounds a lot, I mean, not Total Recall, but no, the other one, Blade Runner, right? Has the corporate level and and the
I much preferred Blade Runner because, and I haven't read the Android's sheet book, but
that one I did read. I read that in high school because I was so taken with Blade Runner, and then the book is rather different. And then I was like, okay,
that's what I've heard.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. If it's not what I grew up with, I can't handle it.
We've also been talking a lot about that. It's like where is the culture now, and how much are we as people our age are, like, where have we come from the 70s and 80s and
well, it's funny because I did a stream a few weeks ago where it was two younger guys, the host and a co-host, where they watched the original Blade Runner and wanted to talk with me about it.
Okay.
And neither of them had seen it before, and they were like, "Oh, well, now we get where some of those memes come from." Right. And they enjoyed it, but one of them admitted, "Hey, it was really slow. I wouldn't have watched it if we hadn't had to watch it for this show."
It's a very noir style. I can see why people who are younger would find it slow. And I remember when it came out, it was almost straight to video. It was only in the theaters for 5 weeks, and then it became a cult classic afterwards because people were like, "Oh, now I kind of get it. It's slow, but I get it. It's worth it. It's worth kind of sitting through it."
Yeah, but it's like so many people, they're not used to a film where they have to pay attention to what the characters are saying to each other, and then the little cues.
Subtle.
Because it's not spelled out for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of one of the challenges that we're facing on being creators in that situation is it's like, well, how much do you accommodate what you're creating for this up and coming audience who maybe have their attention spans damaged or whatever, their expectations are different. How much do you cater to that versus hanging on to what we think is maybe a better way of telling stories, or at least the way that's been more traditional and what we grew up with?
It's an excellent question.
Well, so that's the good meta level problem of what's changing in our art. And I was watching some of Critical Drinkers. He's great.
I like him.
But he was talking about how all the movies are the same now. And this I think is this problem. So the AI generated images that people are complaining about and generally are saying they all end up looking the same. Everything ends up looking the same. It's all recycling.
Copying of a copying of a copy of a copy.
Copying of a copy. And that what Critical Drinker was complaining about was how it's like there's everything's remakes, right? All the big movies out this summer are, which I was not even aware of, right? But like apparently there's another dinosaur movie.
Jurassic World,
I knew that from the car ads that are coming out. I'm like, why? What are they?
We're on Dr. Pepper cans too.
Yeah, why are we talking about this? Is it new, right? Where is it coming? So like everything is, and I'm sitting there watching Love Boat from the 70s on. I love if we go there, we're going to be talking about cruise ships because that's right now, guys. We're on a cruise ship. You guys are hanging out in the which deck are we on, right? To have our little conversation about art and such in the Mosaic Ark. That the movies are there, and they're all the big blockbusters are the 18th gazillionth in a series. They're all the same style of Joss Whedon-y sort of banter and irony and conversation. The plots are remaking the same plot over and over and over again. And then I was wondering, because we have our Mosaic theme on our arc here. And Sarah, you're saying so the youth of today, right? One of the things they have grown up practicing is making all these connections constantly to everything, right? They need that stimulation of here's an image, there's an image, here's an image, there's an image. And if they're saying Blade Runner, I mean, the slowness like draws you in. It's like, that's the whole point of it, that you can't get out of it because
it was a mood.
Yeah,
right.
It was meant to be that mood. But the from our perspective as artists and authors and writers, on the one hand, we have the art that we remember growing up with, the movies and the stories and the visuals, and we have then the art that in the technological situation that we're making it in now, which includes the stuff that's, not just rapid cut, but that you on your own iPhone are constantly, I can't do it, right? I'll be starting reading something and then I'll think about something else and I want to look that up and then I go back to this and then I forget where I was and I scroll down. I'm in Substack, getting lost constantly because you follow a link. And like how much of our narrative and art is all past, it is all mush and pastiche, but on the other hand, it's a very active pastiche because you're putting together your own experience every time you go on your phone.
I wanted to. So you mentioned.
Did I make too many cuts there?
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to break in, and I was being rude. I'm sorry, but you mentioned that
critically drinking now.
Critical drinker said everything was the same. They're remaking the same things over and over again. But then you mentioned the Love Boat, which was a formula, which they had the same plot every single week with only slight differences.
Well,
so people like
the Love Boat. So this is it. So this is great. We'll do the 1977 comparison of the Love Boat with what happened to Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So the Love Boat was it was drawing in actors who were in other shows, right? So this sort of the referentiality of the television, saying, the reason I am enjoying it because, oh my gosh, I remember the show that he was on, right? So that kind of cross linkage was one of their devices.
Isn't that what they do in the Marvel movies a lot too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
It's the same formula. Yeah.
Right. So you're enjoying it because here this character that you're used to seeing in this one place suddenly shows up in this other situation, which is a kind of, maybe we've been on the Love Boat all along.
We never left it. Yeah.
We never left the Love Boat.
But don't you run the risk of just overusing that gimmick?
Well, okay, so this is at the meta level, and this is what we've been, the Mosaic Ark and our own writing and Draco Chemicus have been wrestling with. But I think for me right now, it's this: everybody's complaining about the AI generated stuff. It's going to all look the same, right? So we start with that big question. And then Sarah, you were saying it's like, but what holds people's attention now, and what kinds of is it just entertainment or is it something else that we're looking for our art to achieve? And I mean, entertainment, if it's just if it's all about quick scenes, different things that don't really connect to the thing is my sense of our Mosaic exercises here is we're trying to figure out the ways that things connect, which sometimes don't seem to. But on the other hand, that's, our human propensity to put patterns on anything that's out there, right? It's like, I'm going to find a pattern here because of course there's one, right? But that can drive you nuts.
Mm-hmm. And it can be wrong.
And it can be wrong, right? So as Catholics, how do we find the true pattern? But my big question just now is like, where do we stand in, like, what moment are we in, right? As older people in a moment in which people are younger who've grown up with a different mode of media, but how different is it in fact to what we grew up with?
I don't know. I mean, it can be kind of disheartening when you go look at books that were popular a generation or two ago were considered classics and people aren't reading them now. The classics are really just a tiny handful of things that have been produced. Everything else is like, maybe it was popular for a few decades if you're lucky, but then it just kind of fades away into obscurity. And when I think about that, it's like, oh, well, why am I doing this? But I still feel like, well, I'm going to do it while I'm here. Maybe somebody will enjoy this.
Right. Well, the people who wrote the classics didn't know they were writing classics.
That's true.
Okay.
You really can't say what's going to stay and what isn't, unless it's, genuinely good. And what does that mean? By what standard?
Right.
Okay. So one, we talked about this with the Bleak House exercise. a few weeks ago that Dickens is incomprehensible to people now, but part of the reason is because he's making lots of contemporary references. So it's like trying to watch The Love Boat, and why would you care about him? It's like, okay, so the frisson layer of I'm still in season 1, but I've been watching it for a week, binge wise, and in one of the episodes, the actor who played Potsy, right, in Happy Days.
Oh, for Happy Days,
It's
yeah.
Anson Williams.
Anton Williams, right?
No, Anson.
Anson Williams is in it, and he's a very sweet character. Julie, the cruise director, recognizes him as a friend that he had been a friend of her older brothers when they were growing up, and she, has had a terrible crush on him, and she's like, desperately trying to seduce him, and can't figure out why it's not working, right? And he's sharing a cabin with a sort of swinger older man who has a heart condition, and therefore the crisis comes when the guy with the heart condition comes back to the room and says, okay, I need a doctor and a priest. And the not Potsy character, he's putting on his little travel stole, right, and saying you don't need a priest, and suddenly it's all clear, right? That's like the reason that she hasn't been able to seduce. Sorry, spoiler alert! It came out in 1977. The reason she hasn't been able to seduce him is he's a priest, and I'm just like sitting there on like 15 levels of oh my goshness, because it's completely sympathetic. Right? It's like
a priest is here and he's not horrible.
A priest is here and he's just sweet, and it's and he's on the cruise because he wasn't sure about whether or not he really was a priest, but all of his reactions have been very appropriate with her. He's never tempted or anything, right? It's like he's just recognizing that in fact he likes being a priest, and I'm like, I'm now going to be in shock for the rest of the evening, because primetime television 1977, and you have a Love Boat episode about the goodness of recognizing your role as a priest. Now that layer of frisson is even more intense when you recognize it's the actor who played Potsy on Happy Days, right? And that the appeal of, or like when the guy who played Radar, Gary Berghoff, is in an episode, and when he gets trapped in his cabin by a dog. Okay, fine. So Radar is always with the pets and the animals and MASH. And
I remember that one. I watched that show every week when I was a kid.
Well, but the thing is, all of this, it obviously, it's classic and works for us because we recognize all these actors from other stories, and the same thing works with the classics in the literary canon. It's like they're Chaucer is constantly retelling stories that he got from other places. Shakespeare, everybody's like making out a big deal about how Shakespeare didn't write his own plays. It's like, yeah, duh. He was using source material. And and his original audiences probably loved, Romeo and Juliet because they recognized the story from the previous 6 seasons of it.
Yeah, how many remakes of Spider-Man do we have?
Yeah,
right.
So I guess there has to be a sort of a universality to the characters and the plot, and to help it stay the course of time. Because I'm thinking what you were saying about the Love Boat, the closest thing I've experienced to that was when I was showing my kids, it was years ago, seeing if they would like Animaniacs, and if it was as funny as I remembered. And it was like, so much of the jokes were about the current culture in the early 90s and the politics of the early 90s. It's like, this didn't have a very long shelf life.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe it would be interesting for a historian, but my kids liked it when it wasn't, the obvious political stuff that they didn't get, but most of the jokes were still good. But there was enough of the other that was like, ugh. And even looking back at like some of the early Simpsons and Mystery Science Theater and things, whenever you bring in a current political figure into your joke, unless it's actually the president whom everybody knows, just a few years later, they're going to go, what? Who? I don't get it.
Yeah, well, Warner Brothers did that a lot in the 1940s too. They had political figures, and I remember, you might be familiar because you're in that close to that area. Seattle had a Bad Bunny contest. Bad Bunny Film Festival, where they showed all of the politically incorrect Bugs Bunny cartoons from the Second World War era.
Oh no, I never saw those.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think it was yeah. I never went to it, but I was always amused by the ads for it every year when I lived there. And yeah, they did that, and they also did it with Hollywood figures that were popular that would mean nothing to kids today, and
And
almost
same thing with the writer S.J. Perlman, who I think he may have done some of the Marx Brothers screenplays, and he was
mm,
really influential with oh, what's his name? The guy with the glasses. Um, the filmmaker Mia Farrow's.
oh, Woody Allen.
Yeah, him. Very influential on him, and yeah, really funny writer. But they were usually magazine pieces, so they were very much current to the situation,
Right.
to the culture, to the weird Hollywood figures or Broadway figures, and
Hmm.
so you're trying to piece from the context who this person was and why they were worth mentioning.
Right.
Which I
Right,
don't have time to do that anymore.
but no, but my point is the opposite, right? It's like we're and this I think is a problem in our culture wars sort of situation. It's like how are we going to get people to like the stuff that we liked when we were growing up? And great art responds to its moment. It's like that this is that we were constantly trying to figure out ways to keep people reading the same stuff that we liked, which is my job. So it's like this is a big problem. I've thought about it a lot, right? How do I get them to read medieval literature or something? But the Dante, right? Dante is challenging to read because he's referencing all his contemporaries.
Hmm.
You can't read it without lots
That's
and
true.
lots and lots of footnotes because he's it's all his friends and relations.
Or
So
Alexander Pope, same thing, right?
Alexander Pope, right? It's like they may have the craft of something or other, but the frisson that people had and enjoying it when it was originally crafted is the same as we had with Love Boat when we were
Yeah.
kids and seeing the characters
Yeah,
that we
that's a
knew
good
from
point.
one
Yeah.
context in another in this other place. And the I think that I'm surprised. I had actually thought of this is a kind of reverse sort of observation that I thought of the Love Boat as not terribly well acted because of course
Oh, yeah.
well,
It's
but the
bad.
thing, no, it's actually better than you think, right?
Sometimes.
It depends,
Sometimes.
right?
It
But
was the quality of the guests they had on for sure.
true, but there's more to it than you appreciated. Maybe one appreciated at the time when it's like. So when does the craft become more visible in certain situations? Then you can't see how great a poet Alexander
Oh,
Pope is until you.
did we lose Sarah?
Oh,
She's not visible.
okay. I see her. She's still in the Sarah.
If you can
Did
hear
she
us,
come
maybe
back?
she can go out and come back in. That
Yeah,
usually works.
Sarah, can you go out and come back in? She's frozen.
Oh,
This is
okay.
proof that we're doing this live. I've made a mistake, and now
Yeah.
we've got it. It dropped us.
Well, I wanted to mention while we're waiting for her to come back. So Shakespeare, when you talks to
There she
the
is. She's
plays were
moving again.
yeah,
Excellent.
yeah. I was just gonna say
Where'd you
the
guys
Shakespeare.
go?
This is our only proof that we're so amateur. We're definitely real.
Yeah,
Right?
that's our shtick. It's a
This is the
total.
time
We
when
really just
the
pretend
film
not to be.
crew. Sorry, go ahead.
So we're professionals. We just pretend not to be.
She's coming and
That's our
going. What's
thing.
going on?
No, oh, she froze again. Oh,
Oh
darn it.
no.
Okay, she's gonna have to go out and come back in completely. And I think it's probably just a bandwidth thing. Nope, you're still frozen.
I see her
Oh,
moving.
are you? Yeah, she's moving very slowly. Hmm.
No, she's sitting there trying to figure out whether or not she's on camera again. As far
Okay.
as I know, you. Oh no, but she's not. She's not back in the stream at the moment. Guys,
I
this
can
is
see her and
so
she's moving.
if you want real live conversational reality, we've got it for you. It's here.
No, I think she's back. I can hear her.
But I can't
I
see
think
her in the stream.
you can hear me.
We
Can you
can
hear
see you
Rachel?
in our chat room, but I don't see you fed into the stream at the moment.
Sarah, if you like hang up and come back in, that might fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just come back in. Yeah. Casey, what were you saying?
I was saying about Shakespeare that his plays were speaking to the people of the time,
Right.
even though they were source
Okay.
material. They had just come off 100 years war, and it was still very much in their minds, the same way the First or Second World War would still be in our minds. And we're coming up on, in just like 20 years, it's going to be 100 years since it ended.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so I think we're coming up with an interesting theory of art as such. I mean, one, the reason people like me have jobs. And this is not a small thing, right? It's that we've created this expectation that all of these art forms should speak to us in the present, even though they're classic and old. But everybody has to go to college to think about them and understand them, and get that's entire point of like art history and literature studies and I mean history is to introduce students to these aesthetic forms that they might not properly appreciate otherwise. Well, why not? It's because more context in about the moment in which they were made enriches your experience of them. So it's like basic. And we've ironically, thanks to the explosion of college in the 60s and the giant baby boomer population of people who went to college and therefore expect everybody to know everything they do, which I don't think is fair,
No,
created
it's not.
this expectation that it's all like already there. It never was, right? We invented it as an educational project in the 50s and 60s. So we're living this fantasy version of things that everybody always had all these references. It's like, no, we actually had to, as a culture, work very, very hard at it. They didn't just naturally have it.
Well, also, didn't you say the academic study of English wasn't invented until about the 19th century?
Right. And not in England. It was invented in India to a certain extent.
Right, because they wanted to learn English, right?
Right.
That makes perfect sense to me, because that was a way to succeed, socially, and well, it was a way to succeed within the British colonial system.
Right. And so there's and the thing is that it works that Sarah, you're here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, now I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay, very good. That it's what happened in the 50s and 60s too, when people were encouraged, particularly the GIs who came back from the war, to go to college, right? And there's this enormous expansion of American academia in the 60s. All my senior colleagues all remembered, the hiring fair feel of the 60s was basically, if you did a PhD, you got a job, right? And never in my career has that been the case, right? It's like you do a PhD in the 90s and you have an uphill battle to find a position, because the hiring expansion that happened in the 60s didn't continue indefinitely, right?
Yeah.
Even though we have, well, and the thing is, right now we have fewer people at all to attend college, so
yeah, it got too expensive because it expanded so much.
It expanded so much, and then anyway, that we created this feel that there was such a thing as social status for knowing certain kinds of things. But now what we have is, on the one hand, in talk about dystopian, right? The crumbling social status of one form of aesthetic knowledge, and the reality, which we will now go to our images, right? The reality of art that's coming out of other forms. For example, Sarah, I think your Virgin and Child here is very beautiful. And I used it on our cover for the video because I thought, wow, I mean, this is an interesting exercise.
Objectively speaking, it has the elements that make it a beautiful image.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's lovely. And you, but the thing is, you say
I wouldn't print it out and put it on canvas and put it on my wall. I just wouldn't, because it's like that would feel weird doing that.
Printing
what would feel weird about it?
Why would it feel weird printing it?
You could probably send it to one of those companies that prints things and puts things on canvas for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, here's this painting that I sort of did. But it was like what you were talking about. Well, okay, what I think the problem with not just AI, but everything these days is our lack of self-discipline, our lack of temperance, and being able to postpone gratification. I think the worst example of that I could give would be here on the streets of Portland. The addicts have gotten so used to people coming by with Narcan and reviving them when they die that they don't make any effort to not overdose.
Wow.
That's so sad.
Well, that's a metaphor that'll stick with us.
Yes.
AI is overdosing.
That being said, I'm not in the camp of all AI is evil. It's demonic. Devils are going to take over if you use it. I don't believe that. I mean, you read my piece, and it's like, well, it's like we're still living in the Newtonian model of reality, and the AI is almost like on a quantum level, and we can't quite. You're either one or the other. You can't see how they really do work together. They're both part of reality. So making something on a computer with ones and zeros and pixels and all that, you're still using matter to do it.
It's still a tool.
Yeah. But because it's so, well, what you were saying was everybody can just do it. Everybody can do it. Yeah. And that's why you've got so much, you're going to end up with this huge strata of slop because it's all copying and copying and copying, and it's memes. And you probably saw a couple of months ago where everybody was giblifying.
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't know what that means.
Again.
She froze again. Oh, this used to happen to me all the time.
Well,
it was really frustrating.
Portland is being frustrating for her. We talked about the giblifying in one of our episodes.
It was the
Studio Ghibli.
Oh, right. Okay, the anime. Okay.
And they were making all of them into those sweet images.
Right. Have we got her back? Not yet. There she is.
Okay, I take it back. The demons are in my computer now, messing it up.
That happened to me every single episode for at least 4 months last year. It was really frustrating.
Well, but we did figure out how to keep you stable. What did you do?
Okay.
Yes. What did I do?
Yeah.
I cleared the history of any browser I was using. I dumped any images that my temporary images that were being held by my computer. Then I would shut my computer off and on. It was rather like magic. I had to follow all these steps.
Yes, must do the ritual correctly before going on stream. Otherwise, you haven't pacified the demons. I know what's that. Okay, this is one of the things that regularly comes up at BaseCon because I'm always making the demonic argument. It's like the thing is, I think I
have seen it. I mean, I've seen the images that other people call it uncanny valley. That didn't quite cut it. Now, when Gab first started doing that, my son and I were playing around with it about 3 years ago, and we had to stop because it was creeping us out. The stuff was just jumping off the screen, and evil's the only word I can use to describe what it felt like to look at these things, and I couldn't get that off my screen fast enough. So there's got to be something like that there. It's not just people making really bad art and putting bad prompts in, and maybe they don't know how to put the right prompts in. It was scary looking. It was really scary looking stuff.
I've seen some really horrific things too. But I've also seen some really unbelievably gorgeous things, like heavenly things. So I can't just say that the tech itself is evil or good.
No, it's just tech. It's an object. Yeah, I agree with that.
The way I think things are going to shake out, and I don't know if Rachel, if you saw the little screenshot I sent of the slideshow or whatever that James Gurney was lecturing. And I didn't pay to read his article, but I did get that screenshot.
See, we only have fragments, little pieces of things that we stick
clues. They're
little clues.
It looked like he was kind of thinking along the same lines, in that I think you'll have the majority of people, hey, it's something fun to play around with. I'm not going to take the time to learn how to really, be an artist, but this is fun. I've made an image. And some of those people, I think, will go on to go, wait a minute, I do really want to learn how to draw. And I've actually I've seen that in real life. So that's probably most people. And then you've got a pretty thick layer of folks who are going to go, this is going to save me time and money in marketing materials like book covers, banners for my website, whatever, that kind of thing. And then I think you're actually going to have an elite of artists who know how to use it, take it and use it and make new things. And probably a lot of it will be related to filmmaking. How is it going to help with visual images and special effects and things like that? They're going to find ways to use it that we can't even really predict.
Do you see this
but
as
that's
a
just with
continuation?
the creative world. What's happening with the rest of industry, behind the scenes, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we're thinking about art for this the X part of the exercise.
Do you see it as a continuation, simply just computer-aided design?
I think it can be, but I know a lot of artists are adamant, saying no. You can't do that.
Well, so this
think
is
it's like,
we'll put a link to your Substack piece, your manifesto in the descriptions, because I think people should read it, because you went through a very, I mean, a Catholic argument in, sort of foundational ways, but a thoughtful argument about what you've just been saying. Is like exactly at what layer of things are we concerned with this art? And
my biggest concern is seeing it used for like deep fakes, or those like your relative's going to live forever, or you've got an anime girlfriend on your phone. That I think is the worst, because that's playing on your emotions in a way that's just,
it turns into a digital companion that distracts you from real ones.
So this is, I mean, my Love Boat example of saying or the Shakespeare example, we're dealing with phenomenon that are standard in art, which is, if stories are referential to the moment that they're written, they don't have it. There's no such thing as this timeless quality that doesn't involve, and later generations needing to unpack them and point to things. And it when I'm not feeling, worried about the demonic intervention thing, most of the concerns that I'm seeing about the AI art are, even in what you just said, Sarah, similar to concerns that people have about art generally, right? The problem of, well, Pygmalion is the man falls in love with his own statue, right? So that's the carrying
such an ancient idea.
Carrying around your own girlfriend in your phone. That's
right.
It's.
Do you remember the Twilight Zone episode where there was a guy who was like sentenced to like prison on an asteroid, but they gave him a robot girlfriend?
I think I do remember that one.
Yeah, he totally bonded with her, and she was this wonderful companion. I think she was played by Jean Marsh. But then he gets pardoned, and there's no room for the robot companion to come on the ship back, and there's a tussle, and she ends up breaking, and he's like, oh, it's just a machine. Okay, I can go on now. And it's like, you're looking at it now, you realize he's gonna have a lot of therapy. He's gonna have to like, I remember Wilson, the volleyball, if he could bond with a volleyball on Castaway, your mind, you can do all sorts of weird things.
Well, it's kids with toys, right? It's Winnie the Pooh, for goodness sake, or Paddington, right? I had a Paddington bear as a toy, right? Or the point about the Winnie the Pooh stories is it was Christopher Robin, who was a real person's toys. And so you have stories about his toys that become characters to him. And that capacity that we have of projecting our own, I mean, it's like, what are we projecting? You're projecting onto an object and imagining that it interacts with you. The AI, whether the AI makes it scarier or more absorptive and addictive. You were just talking about what the people in Portland are doing with their drugs, right? It's like drugs aren't new either. The intensity of the drug, or the addictiveness of it, or the feeling of inescapability. I mean, we worry about that with the robot girlfriends, but on the other hand, we can say that it's like it's like classic stories, ancient stories about people falling in love with their own artwork.
Right, or Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Pinocchio. Yeah.
But everything's happening at a much faster rate, and it's much more scalable, and we don't have as much our framework for protecting us and helping us learn virtues when we're younger to resist these things is so eroded that's I think that's why it looks so dangerous. It's like, yeah, these things are really not that new, but they're coming in a new way, and we don't seem to be able to deal with it because it's happening so fast.
So the happening so fast to me is paired with the and everything's always the same. Right. It's like
I know.
that's
It is.
that's what the critical drinkers thinking about. Well, the movies are actually all the same. Nothing's changed in a decade. But then we also have this sensation of, oh, it's all changing so fast. And it's like, so which is it? It's obviously both, but it's that sensation of so I think the sensation of everything being always the same is ironic, because it's that everything is all available already. And so for example, I'm able to watch television shows that I grew up watching and I haven't seen since I was, saw them broadcast when I was 12, because thanks to the digital, everything is made available constantly. So that's what the AI is being trained on. It's being trained on everything that's all of human history is suddenly now available, digitized. And yet, weirdly enough, it makes everything feel fast and stagnant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fast and stagnant at the
really
same
weird
time.
paradox.
Right. It's fast and stagnant simultaneously.
It's like you're standing in one place and just spinning your wheels, just spinning around.
So, I mean, the fear that I see in the story, for the storyteller's perspective, is how are we going to tell new stories? I mean, we were talking about this earlier, right? Nobody's going to read them. How do we get an audience for something that doesn't seem to just replicate everything that everybody already wants? It's like yet more, the slot problem, right? Yet more of the bland, familiar stuff, as opposed.
But it's possible because the Holy Spirit's always renewing us. And so if we're open to that, if creators are open to that, you're always going to find ways of telling stories that will appeal to the people who need to hear them.
That's perfect. And I'm so happy you said that, because I feel like I've got the image of all of us being on a hamster wheel, right? and the Holy Spirit goes, get off of that,
Or maybe it says run creativity. Faster. I mean, which does it? And
not on the hamster wheel. Get out, run outside.
Hamsters
There's other
like
things to
their
see.
wheels. Haven't you seen them in the videos where they spin them and then fly off?
No. Oh, no.
Oh, they're hilarious.
Those hamsters are having the time of their life. They don't get wheels, and wheels is a work. I'm gonna riff off of this one. Wheels is a work of tech, right? They don't get to have hamster wheels in the wild. They only get them when they're pets.
Did you hear? I didn't see it yet, but I read a description of it. There's a video out there. Somebody put a hamster wheel in the wild. They put it out in
and the hamsters went and played on it, right?
And a bunch of different animals went and played on it, including snails. It was so.
Snails want the hamster wheel. See, so the tech. I mean, if we're running hamster wheels on our tech, maybe it's just fun, right?
Yeah.
So no, Sarah, what you just said is why I dragged you over to our lunch table at BaseCon and said you must talk to us, because we're sitting here in this dystopian, doom cycle, and she's like, but the Holy Spirit's going to work on us. So what are you worried about?
Well, yeah, perfect point. Yes. Yeah, we're Christian writers. Yeah. Well, what else would we expect? If we're not doing what God wants us to do or not writing, then it's not going to be very good, I don't think.
Right.
That's the way I look at it anyway.
And that doesn't mean that it's going to happen in a bolt from the blue. You still have to work on it, just like working on your spiritual life. You don't instantly become perfect the moment you decide to. You have to work at it.
Well, so that's beautiful, and that's exactly what art is supposed. It's like I wrote this book on the art of prayer, and then one of my reviewers criticized me for not explaining what art was, and I'm like, I showed you. it's it's the practice that they're involved in, which is this. Um, I mean, the hamster wheel is going to stick with me now, right? So you're running and running and running, and then ecstasy. No, but you have to practice on your wheel regularly. That I and Sarah, I think it's what you started with, the problem of, if the AI is instant, then where does that training come in? And I think certainly to make this image, you had to work with the AI some. I mean, I think I can put like descriptions in Grok, and I end up with ridiculous images. So I
Me
appreciate.
too.
Is Grok.
Well,
Yeah.
no, so there are
Not
better
good.
platforms. There's better tools, right? And
Yeah,
when
Yeah.
you were
you gave a
talking
great
about,
list on your article.
yeah, the
Yeah.
the people who think, oh, I can, if I can just throw it in AI, it'll come out right. And it's like, actually, no, right? You have.
No, it can take several attempts, and I think there are a few people out there. I don't even know what to call them. I assume they have some natural talent, or they have a lot of art background. It's like they seem to know, and they're willing to put in the time to figure out what the prompts are to get near what they want, and then just keep refining it. And there's all sorts of terms like can't type of camera exposure or lenses or whatever, so they can get those kinds of effects, and then
Oh,
different
interesting.
colors. And there's one guy I like. I think I mentioned him in my article, Matt Bacon AI. His pieces are, I don't know what you'd call them. To me, they're like illustrations. A lot of the things that he does, I look at that like, oh, that's just straight out of Gene Wolfe. He's illustrating the Book of the New Sun just for fun or something. Like, it has the same kind of majestic but weird, off but cool. It's just, so there are some people out, but I assume that he was already an artist, so he knows how to get to his vision. He's not just like, well, what about this? What about that? Oh, that looks cool. I'll throw that
Which is
up. So
what we do, right? Because we're not
yeah,
artists. And that's
yeah,
really fascinating, because it's basically the difference between me picking up a camera and taking a picture of something like looks cool, and a professional photographer seeing everything else that's going to be in that picture, and seeing the light and the angle of the light, and
yeah.
all of
That's
those things
a
they know
really good
about.
way of putting it. So it is a tool kind of like that, but it's more like a mental camera or something. I don't know, but
Right, right. Well, I mean, even the photographer, it's all in his head too, but he knows how to manipulate the equipment to get the picture he wants, but the information's still in there on how to do that. And I think that sounds, what you just described, that's what the people who know how to use these tools properly are doing. They're doing what a photographer does.
yeah. And I think that's cool. But I know that there's a lot of like old school artists who still would say, oh no, that's not art. You can't. It's evil. You can't like that. And I'm kind of reminded of when the digital tablets first came out. Artists were very upset. They're like, oh, this is going to ruin art. And now they're all using
Huh.
digital
And
tablets.
photography in the 19th century killed
Yeah,
off portraiture.
I'm the one that's still doing things on paper and pen because I don't want to bother to learn how to use a tablet. Like, I don't want to bother to do all those fancy prompts. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do it. But if other people want to put in the time to figure it out, that's great.
Hmm.
Well, so I mean, what I hear you saying is, you may think they're shortcuts, but they're not.
Well, yes and no, because you're not spending the time in front of a canvas or watercolor paper, mixing your paint and putting the brush, and then having your finished project. To me, that's still going to be, that kind of thing is still the highest form. But these other images that are coming out, if they're crafted well enough that you can still go look at it and go, yeah, that's a worthwhile image. It makes you think about something exciting or beautiful or puzzling or weird or mysterious. So they still have value,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have the work that they put into it. They're still just sitting there at the computer typing. It's not the same thing as being in a studio, and doing something which is a bit more kinetic because you're using more of your body, basically.
Makes sense.
Okay, so I want to hold. Just Mel is in there making good, fast and stagnant, right? That's our tension that we're in at the moment for sure. She's saying everyone is experiencing ADHD.
Yeah, it's being developed in us.
The ADHD world of fast and stagnant. Sarah, what you're saying as so what I'm feeling like we're developing, and this I mean, it's like I'm inclined to get there because I know crafting, I mean, doing art, it's like training your mind in studying history, or it's like prayer as a continuous practice that transforms you over your lifetime, or like learning to do all the difficult. I never give myself an easy hobby, right? Like fencing, writing poetry, right? That there's something that we recognize ourselves. And I say, incarnational arts really, really matter because you have to train your entire, I mean, who we are, right? Our bodies and minds work together. That things that I'm able to do emotionally and intellectually are as much because I'm a fencer as because I read a lot, right? So the sort of dissociation of the body and the mind that the 17th century played at and then crashed and burned over is ridiculous. But that we recognize art as somehow that it works on us even as we are training ourselves in the skill. So that's one, that the time involved, right? Because we're incarnate in time, and it matters that we're trained in time. But on the other hand, the sort of the desire for the being in the material that is more in the studio with the paints and such like that. One of the things that we've been reading for our Draco Alchemicus, or I've been getting Mel and Casey to read because they have to, is Spike Bucklow's books on paint. Have you ever come across?
It's really good.
Across it? Mm-hmm. So I found his Alchemy of Paint at the International Medieval Congress convention, right? Because it was there when the book's for sale on medieval art, and he actually has written a lot about. I just got another of his books on 6 medieval paintings, so he's talking about that. But his training is actually in art conservation. He
would know how they made the paints, and
he knows how they made the paints. And so modern artists, you don't like have recipes for vermilion, right?
Just go to the store and buy it.
Just go to the store and buy it, right? So you could say it's like the medieval artists who are, they know their lapis lazuli is a stone that comes from paradise, and they have to do all these recipes for separating out the blue from the chalk, and so you end up with this stone. They had to make their pigments from the materials, although they're buying, the apothecaries are selling pigments for them and such.
Their apprentices were making the paints from the pigments.
Fair, and they had to be apprentices. This is going to get us to if we can start showing some of our examples now that we've warmed you all up to the problem, right? I just spent, everybody knows because I'm going to talk about it for the rest of my life. Some time in Rome, right?
I would too.
And
I'd brag.
And the sort of what were they able to accomplish in the 17th century Baroque trompe l'oeil ceilings, right, where everyone's flying up into heaven and there's a great illusion. I mean, like, would those guys have used the AI if they could have thrown it up on the ceiling?
You know what's so poignant?
I would have.
You know what's so poignant about the like Michelangelo Sistine Chapel, for instance, was the physical pain he had to go through for 3 years to put that paint on the ceiling to basically to get to heaven. He had to go through pain to get to heaven. I mean, the entire experience was just kind of like a metaphor for human beings trying to work, through sin and overcome it to be able to get there. Fascinating.
Exactly. Right. So we have this problem of the art is it and saying that the AI, which is, and Sarah, we've also thought about this a lot, right? The AI is not immaterial, right? It's you're having to have all of these computers, which are made out of rare earth minerals and metal, and these are incredibly physical objects that you have to carry. You're saying you didn't want to learn how to draw on a tablet, right? Because you have to have a tablet, you have to have electricity, you have to have, right?
Yep.
It's not true that they're immaterial. They're there's just like the fiction of a painting being, it's on a board with pigment and labor, but the sort of labor that goes into the tools is behind it. Where is our spirituality going to be anchored? in this art, and that is clearly the thing that we're worried about. I'm worried about.
Well, I think that you're probably going to see more of a pullback and people rejecting that.
The spirituality or the materiality?
No, rejecting the immediacy. We'll talk about it being the lack of being able to defer the gratification of actually creating something.
Right.
I think that you'll end up with more appreciation for artisans or people becoming patrons of artists that they like, and appreciating buying something in person or getting a handwritten note when they order something from Etsy. I think that people are going to appreciate those kinds of things more. But I don't know how much of the general population is worried enough that they're going to be seeking out a more personal connection with artists and art. How much people are just going to be like, they were perfectly happy to put those Thomas Kincaid prints on their walls. Why would they care if it's now AI generated or not? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think most people were terribly interested in a personal relationship with the artist. They just liked what they looked at, right?
Yeah, and I do think that you're never going to overcome that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's more special for the
until the
artist.
Renaissance, you didn't even know the names of the artists necessarily, because that wasn't a feature of the art. You might know the patron who commissioned it, the bishop, right? But the sort of names of the craftsmen were strange.
It's very special.
Wasn't that when? Oh, sorry, go.
It's very special to have an artist that makes his own pigments, right, and collects all of the materials for it, and makes his own colors, his own very unique colors, and then maybe he becomes known for that. But the patron that paid for it's going to go, yeah, looks good, and that's going to be it. He's still.
I don't know. Some patrons can be very picky. If they're commissioning something. Like my mom was an icon writer, and she did more Western style too, but she did a lot of work for priests, and they were usually very specific in what they wanted.
With materials?
No, they didn't care if she was grinding her own pigment or not, but it's like, it's got to be this, and if that's not quite right, you need to move that over. Or they could be very picky, and but dang, what was I going to say?
Well, okay, so one thing, you're hypothesizing that people are going to want more. Okay, so the return to the personal interaction at some level.
Somewhat.
Right.
But not everybody. Okay, I remember what I was going to say. Yeah. So you're talking about largely, the sacred art is being produced for churches.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got later, when things were like more mass produced, like printing press and the different kinds of printing processes that allowed people to have engravings or prints of famous works in their homes, then everybody could have it. And it's like, well, but it wasn't handcrafted anymore. But who's going to say that, this little humble little farmhouse, they don't have the right to have a nice little copy of The Last Supper or something in their house? It's not the same thing as Da Vinci coming and painting it in their dining room, but at least they've got that. And so that's something that technology allowed people. And so the more you had that, they weren't always the best. They were the best engravings, the best woodcuts, the best prints, but people had something. And so the more it's produced, kind of, it's like, well, you got to trade off. You got your beautiful original, and then you've got your copy of your copy of your copy of your copy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But at least everybody can have a copy. So
are you saying the copies are like the AI art?
I think they were, in that, everybody had access to it. Just like with the printing press, everybody could have books now.
But then certain people, as you just pointed out a few minutes ago, will be better at creating art using those tools than I would, because I'm really awful at it.
Right, and then it will be valuable to you having Sarah's image of Our Lady here, right? It's because I wouldn't know how to make that.
You're welcome. You have my permission if you want to take that screenshot and upload it to a place that's going to get you a canvas. Go ahead.
It's very beautiful, and we might, right? And no, and the thing is,
I don't feel like it was really mine. It was like, okay,
it came to you. Well, this makes it an interesting. So you're saying so many layers of things of sacred art in the Middle Ages. I mean, people have used patterns as well, right? So to say that, like you said, your mom is an icon writer, that they're drawn to particular designs, right? That you have to like recognize the here's the heroine of hell, right? Or here's the Virgin and Child or something like that, and that Hodakatria looks like it does. I have some more examples in our image stack that answer to some of these questions, right? That there's a tradition. There's things like the replication of images. My colleague in medieval art history, Jeffrey Hamburger, has a great paper on the Veronica images. Right. So the Veronica is the image that is made when Christ wipes his face on the handkerchief that Veronica, the true icon, hands him.
Yeah.
Right.
And then so there it is, the original image, not made by human hands. Right. Talk about AI. Right. Here's the God impressed image on this cloth, which is then replicated throughout the later Middle Ages in paintings of Veronica holding up her image, which is then it becomes a devotional image, one of these that you're describing, like these woodcuts where you have like whole sheets of these Veronicas. It's the true icon, but there's like a sheet of 12 of them or 8 of them or something, right? That then you could cut up and everybody could have their own. So this reproduction of an image, the image of the image of the image in sacred art is the point, right? It's like here Christ impresses his face on the cloth, and then that becomes a relic, but then everybody wants a copy of the relic by way of an artistic reproduction of it. And then, as you are quite rightly saying, one of the things that drives, I don't know, the Renaissance and the Counter-Reformation. The Reformation is driven by the desire for lots of copies of the Bible, right? Driving the replication of art in the early modern period is you can make engravings and then print a lot of them, and then you have a book of engravings, and everybody you can have your own copy of all of these amazing designs. So I'm still at the place where, in fact, a lot of the problems that we're now worrying about with the AI generated art are familiar to us from the problem of art to begin with. Its replicability,
exactly. and it's very much a Christian issue and a Catholic issue, in that we didn't have any problem with images. We stated at the beginning, it's like images are good because of the incarnation. So now we find ourselves inundated with images, and we're like, okay, we got to make sure that they're good. They're still good. They're still uplifting. And that's really hard to do because the evil comes in where once you have the power to use your imagination in a dark way. I mean, if you go back and look at cave paintings, they were depicting some obscene stuff, and they didn't have AI. People are always going to use whatever tools they can to do some nasty things. But
art got very controversial in the Renaissance too, for the same reason.
Well, let's look at some more examples. So we've been looking at Sarah's image. Now we have we have 2 Rupniks, and this is the Virgin and Child, and Casey, you have a Annunciation, right?
Annunciation.
And these are mosaics.
Yeah.
So they're completely physical, right? Talk about physical intensive labor image. But Sarah, you said there was some this is an example of, if we worried about that AI image that's not produced by human labor immediately, I suppose. It's the tech that you use to do it is coming out of, there's human labor somewhere in it. But the Rupnik's mosaics are intensely physical in their production of the image itself. But
they were basically a ruse to To enable,
Arthurian
enable
intent is suddenly a problem.
to enable him to prey on his female assistants. So
Yeah, and there's something so creepy about his artwork is in the eyes, and somebody wrote an article about this 1 or 2 years ago. They look like Hollywood zombie eyes. There's no pupils. They're all dark, black, enormous. They're
well, and
just
also
kind of
that's a sign
staring
that
out.
if he ever had any talent, he wasn't really refining it. It was just like, oh, I'm an artist, therefore any ugly old thing I can put up
That's right.
is
I have the credentials, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but how did he have the credentials? Because of the difficulty of the medium that he was using? It's like, so we
No,
have this one, the
I
Virgin
actually
Child
don't
here.
know about his academic credentials. I don't know if he went to art school or not.
And
But
here's
he
his
was titled an
enunciation.
artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. His enunciation I thought was strange. I understand he's trying. It's a. I'm guessing this is a scroll and it's supposed to be scripture, but to me it just looks like a big long contract, which is just an odd choice. But yeah, and these aren't the worst examples of his faces because they all actually look a bit serene. Most of his stuff, they just kind of look like dead zombie eyes to me when I look at them.
Well,
And
the
he's
Virgin and
totally
Child
coming
had,
out of the liturgical art of the 60s and 70s. That's just
Yeah,
everywhere.
there's a church near me that they're not mosaics, but it's very much in kind of this style. But if you can imagine, it's even worse. And I'm not going to mention the church, but Saint Joseph's face should not look like a chimpanzee, but it does in this picture. But they were kind of going for the same kind of. It's almost like I almost want to say it's like a fake Greek icon style, like just because it had.
Are they mosaics or are they frescoes?
No,
or
they're stained glass, so they're kind of a mosaic.
Oh, okay.
They're stained glass. So, but yeah, very long faces, very gigantic eyes, very shadowed, shaded skin. But no, seriously, Saint Joseph looks legitimately like a monkey in one of them, and I'm just like, well, just take them down. I don't care how much money you spent on it 50 years ago. Take them down. Replace them. They're awful.
I could tell you horror stories of pastors who hired artists and paid large amounts of money for things that they then were stuck with.
Yeah. I think we've amortized it effectively over 50 years now, though. Just get rid of it now. Just all the big fundraiser and replace it. Oh.
Well, so there's then there's layers in these Rubniks, and one, you don't like them as images, and two, you're disturbed, as Sarah pointed out in her article, by his life and the person who made them. So it's like we're attached.
Yes.
The problem of the artists, especially if he's making sacred art, because we want something. This is interesting with the AI generated. We're worried that people don't put enough of themselves into it. And then with Rubnik, you're saying, well, how much of himself did he put into these images?
No, literally. It's a really good counterpoint to what Kimberly was saying about Michelangelo and the pain to get to the heaven of creating this. Rupnik's like a parody of that. He's not experiencing any pain. He's not going to suffer. He wants the adulation and the attention, but there's no way he's suffering in the creation of this. Very, very, very arrogant, I would say. Probably a narcissist, in addition to being a predator.
Yeah, and the images are very one-dimensional looking to me. They're very flat.
They're not good. They're just like slapstick, like a slapstick version of an icon.
Like a parody of one. Like it's a parody of icon, right? In his life, as you point out in your article, and just now it's a parody of the pain a true artist goes through to create, to participate in creation, to create beauty, which is what God created. He created beauty. He didn't create ugliness.
Well, then, so then we have
And he certainly
we
didn't
have
really create
further
a
examples.
one-dimensional
Like you said, we
world.
had the Rupniks as a problem of the artist's intention and his either affect or not or lack of in the image. Now we have Caravaggio.
Intent, yeah. I remembered Caravaggio. So this image is, and I picked the Annunciation before because it was an angel and a human. It was an angel with Mary. So here's an angel with Saint Matthew, just to contrast the difference, how personal it looks. It doesn't look flat. It doesn't look one-dimensional, even though it's paint and not mosaic. It's not tile, which is not one-dimensional. It's supposed to pop out, but this looks much more in depth. It looks way more personal. And Caravaggio, rumor has it, was not a good person.
He was a very
violent,
Yes.
He was a very violent person, and he was a convicted murderer. And the murder wasn't self-defense; it was vengeance. It was just a stereotypical Italian drama, an opera. He's rumored to have been a pimp at one point or bordered with prostitutes. I'm not too sure about that one because it was illegal to hire female models back then. So he would use prostitutes like a lot of artists would. And there were a lot of rivals and people didn't like him. They might have made that particular rumor up of him being a pimp, but he did use prostitutes and he did murder a man, and he kind of bragged about it. About being a tough guy. So he was not a nice person.
But we like his pictures.
You can say a lot of things about him, but right. You can say a lot of things about him, but his intent was to create a pretty spectacular picture, to create art and a very violent beauty, but I mean it is beautiful.
I think the difference is that you look at a Caravaggio and all his problems. It's not about him. The final painting is not about Caravaggio. Right. It's about the subject of the painting. When you look at Rupnik's, it's like, oh, he threw some rocks up there on the wall because in Rupnik, it's Rupnik did this. This is Rupnik's thing. So it's
but they're not beautiful. It's almost like he had no respect for the subject matter because he didn't even try to make it beautiful. Whereas Caravaggio, as awful as he was, respected his subjects.
Yeah.
That he was painting, and that's clear. It's clear right here. This was one of the nicer ones. A lot of the ones I've seen when I was looking through these images, they had a real hardness about them. And one of his more famous ones is cutting off the head of Holofernes, and it's real graphic, like super graphic. And then there's the head of John the Baptist, I think also. But the looks on people's faces are kind of contorted in anger. And I'm like, okay, there's the artist right there, because he was an angry guy. But this one was completely different. He looks very at ease with the angel and very relaxed. He's got his leg crossed. The angel's kind of like going, yeah, why don't you just put this in here right here? It looks almost very casual. And so that was kind of unique for him, I thought. But his intent was to respect the subject matter. Rupnik's was not, and you can kind of see that.
So just to play devil's advocate on this one, but I mean, some could say, well, no, maybe Caravaggio's intent was to draw lots of naked people, and he chose the subjects of his paintings that he could, because that enabled him, the topic enabled him to draw what he wanted.
Well, they were closed. No, I didn't see a lot of them either. You saw an occasional exposed breast, like a part of it, but I mean, they were closed.
Like guys. That's what I've heard, right? So I mean, they're drawing a lot of masculine images. This is what obviously I'm getting this from my friend's book, right? That these Renaissance artists that are enjoying drawing men. A lot of naked men, lots and lots of naked men, right? And you're like, okay, fine, there's lots of naked men.
I'll play devil's advocate now. They weren't allowed to draw naked women unless they were prostitutes, right?
Well, one way or the other, they're wanting to draw naked people.
Yeah.
So you could say this is because they're celebrating the human form, or it's because they like looking at naked people. I think it's interesting because sitting still for that long, because they do have models and they are gridding it, right, for the perspective and stuff like that. This is not easy work, right? So I'm not sure.
No, it's not.
I've never understood how erotic it can be, because if you do a life drawing class, it's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you see it all the time, it's just like, okay, yeah, put your clothes over there. All right, let's get started.
Well, you need to, because you need to pay attention to what you're drawing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so but it's interesting that if we have the beauty, we're willing to excuse the stories that we hear about the artist's life. But if we don't like the paint, the object, we find the artist despicable, which is how we're evaluating what matters in this.
Yeah, well, I think that's if Rupnik has any actual fans of his art and not people who are just pretending to be because it was the popular thing to do for 30 or 40 years, was to say, oh yeah, this is a wonderful form of art, and it makes you sound sophisticated. If somebody is an actual fan of his artwork, I'm losing my train of thought now.
You don't believe it? They have bad taste.
Do they have bad taste? I think they'd have a tough time defending the skill that went into the same images being done over and over again. There was skill in what Caravaggio did here. There was skill in what he did with this John the Baptist and with this, Madonna and Child. But I mean, you could go ahead.
Have you heard of an artist called Eric Gill? He was British. Okay.
No.
His work was really good, and it should be buried because of what he was doing in his private life. You can't look at it, and if you know what he was doing, and it was like, oh, I can't look at this and not think about.
Did he do nasty things to create the art?
No.
So is this like a Neil Gaiman thing? It's like people might like his stories,
except it was his own daughters.
Oh yeah. Well, that's like Klaus Kinski, same thing, right? He was supposed to be some brilliant German director, although I don't think he was. But he abused his daughter horribly.
Yeah, and so it's like I don't care what you produced. There's some lines I just can't mentally get over.
Yeah. It's like, well, nobody's art is at the end of the day, nobody's art is that good. Right?
Yeah.
This thing you don't want to overlook. But was Rupnik's personality informing his artwork the way Caravaggio's was? Caravaggio's life was obviously informing his artwork and how he chose to portray the subjects. But you could tell he respected it. Whereas Rupnik, he chose the subjects because it was lucrative, and he just kept kind of throwing the same tiles on the wall to see if they'd stick, and they all stuck in the same, weird faces. I'm just thinking of those pictures that were done in the late 1950s and early 60s of the children with the giant eyes. Kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were popular for a while too.
Casey's really on a roll tonight. So we have here we have the Book of Kells, Virgin and Child, which most modern viewers would find a hard time finding beautiful.
It's not, well, the colors are beautiful. The face isn't.
It's almost more of a decorative art than a portrait.
Right.
Is that the one with the Virgin and Child on that one?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
which in fact looks like we've known now. It looks like a lot of Coptic images. So in fact, it's probably it's the model is iconic.
Yeah,
style.
and I can tell from personal experiences, from being very young and doodling, that when you don't feel comfortable doing a human figure, you fill in and do lots and lots of abstract decorations around to distract from your weak spot. So we can forgive the monk that.
Well, but the decorative embellishment is quite skilled, in fact, right? Yes. To do that interlace.
Yeah, the colors were beautiful.
And
see, I thought he was writing. I thought he was like writing an icon type thing here. They had to use very specific mathematical proportions, and with it, it had to look a certain way. That's what I see when I look at this, because it reminds me. She's very. Yeah, she's sitting very stiff too, right? And she's turned a particular angle. And Christ is looking up at her, and he looks like a little man, which is just strange. That'll never not be strange to me. but yeah, it reminds me. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that it might be, and I could be totally wrong, that until the Renaissance, Christ was depicted as a little man for theological
Right.
reasons. So it's not a
Oh,
cute little baby. It's the man.
okay, that makes
Um,
sense.
I'm just guessing that could be a factor.
Yeah. It just looks, it's just an odd look.
Right, but it's interesting that you like this one, Casey, and not the Rupniks, right?
I
Because
was just going to say, the face reminds me of Rupnik. I don't like it at all, you know. But the thing is, this was a very this might have been a cover, but a lot of times they did well, you know,
this isn't a
they
cover.
did.
No, it's in the book.
Okay, so it's in the beginning of the book of Saint Matthew, the Gospel according to Matthew, and it's mother and child, and it's meant to. I think it might be illuminating the first page, I think, of the gospel there. So it was an illustration. It wasn't meant to be an icon, and it certainly wasn't meant to be a portrait. But yeah, I don't care for it. Looks like a tiny little man. I don't, although he is smiling, you know, which is nice. But yeah, the face is not attractive. But that was a thing. I think E. Michael Jones has talked about the danger of beauty. Is that what it was called?
Mm-hmm.
The book, right? About the Renaissance, when they started drawing beautiful figures, that people were afraid it was going to induce lust, right? And so the faces weren't skilled enough. And the Middle Ages, when this was done, I don't think art had. I don't think the artists had become skilled enough to draw lifelike features on faces yet.
Well, the Book of Kells figures look a lot like the stone carvings, the Celtic carvings too. So I think that's partly the style of what they were able to do with the tools that they had, and this is how we do these faces, and that hair with little curls and the huge eyes. So it's just translated to the vellum.
Okay. Yeah,
right, which is incredibly labor intensive if we're going for that, right?
Yes.
In terms and the interlace designs are very meditative, and it takes an intense amount of attention to do these accurately, and they ornament the script of the book way over. You know, it's like there's little dots and squiggles and beasts, and
it's like incredible.
the whole book is it's like very much the opposite of AI generated, although using models, right? One of the reasons I think Christopher DeHamel has written about the Book of Kells in his Meetings with Remarkable Manuscripts, and he makes the excellent point that this it looks the way it does probably because the artist has a model that he's copying. So this is the AI problem is saying, oh, well, it's all, you know, there. And Sarah, you pointed to this in your piece, right? Artists are always using copies of, you know, training. You talked about this, training yourself on copying other artists' work. The medieval art is.
You don't.
Sorry, go ahead.
You really won't learn anything if you don't copy from life and copy from other people's work, because artists, when you're copying from life, it's very frustrating for an emerging artist to figure out how to get what you see onto your 2D surface. What do I leave out? How do I deal with these shadows? How do I deal with perspective? So studying the old masters, or even just going to Pinterest and getting any image that looks good and copying it, teaches you that language of how to translate reality onto a 2D surface. And you have to always be doing that if you want to make any progress at all.
Right. So, and this is, I was thinking about this when we were saying, it's like the Renaissance artists are using tricks to render the illusion of perspective. You know, the Book of Kells artist had to, you know various tricks to be able to do the kinds of designs that he's doing. That the thing that we feel frustrated about is the AI seems to be a trick, that it's, you know, making these images that have these particular effects and such like that. But all artists are using particular kinds of techniques to create the image that you're looking at, which include models and, you know, other examples and the style that they're doing it in, and so forth. I mean, it sometimes when we've been talking about the AI art, it's like whether or not you like that kind of psychedelic style that so much stuff in the AI generated images come with. because you can do it obviously, and it looks cool on a screen because it's playing with the light effects of the screens themselves. Well, we had some, and then we're now to the Kincaids, right? And you mentioned that in your article. So, okay, fine, but what if it's just pretty, right? And
I love Kincaid, I have to say. I love his stuff. I've
Okay.
a lot
tell us about the
of
Kincaids.
a lot of the houses that he painted are real places in Carmel, which I've been to, and he did a pretty good job of capturing what it looked like. But it looks very dreamy, and
Yes.
it's just pleasant to look at. It's not something you
Okay,
contemplate.
I
It's
will
just
say
something you look at and go,
he's
"Oh, that's nice."
he was a much better artist than people realize. He could he before he latched onto that style. He and James Gurney were friends, and they traveled around and did a lot of painting and drawing together. I think James Gurney was the much better artist, but yeah, his lighting it's very dreamy is a good way of putting it. But it's also kind of it kind of jumped out at me when I was looking. You had all those little thumbnails there in the folder.
Mm-hmm.
His were kind of the squishiest and murkiest. They didn't have a stronger sense of form or composition. It was just kind of like, oh, here's a bunch of nice colors. And wouldn't you like to go into that little cabin and have a cup of coffee?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
look at you once
if
you
it
get
was
absorbed
real,
into the sunlight, the sunset of that
that's
image.
my ideal location, and I hope that when I get to heaven, at least part of it looks kind of like that. But I can still see that it's not a great painting in and of itself. But there's nothing wrong with liking it. I mean, it's nothing. There's really nothing. I'm glad you like it.
I think I'm horrified.
Well, so
on
are
that.
these this is the valley, and then there's one that's a Christmas scene, right? And this Christmas scene feel is the same. Sort of here's the snow and the light. Caravaggio, but Caravaggio's playing with light effects like that too, right? You like Caravaggio's because he's so good at chiaroscuro, right? He's and how much that was, the trick of his studio. I figured out how to do this. All my paintings look like that. You can tell a Caravaggio, they all look the same.
Yeah.
And here's our Kincaid. Look, here's the snow, here's the fall one, here's the snow one. So he's a living artist now. Kincaid is working now.
No,
he died.
I think he actually. I don't know if it was self or not, or if he was sick or something. But
I think he died of
no longer with
effects
us.
he died of the effects of alcoholism, I thought.
Okay.
Oh, he's making beautiful pictures like this, and he's drinking too much.
I know, it's sad.
No,
Are we going to have like a happy
problem.
artist story in any of these? Does
Well,
art
Norman
make you?
Rockwell-
I mean, it's like you're yearning for these images of transcendence and beauty, and in fact, you're miserable or abusing people. This is not a great lesson we've gotten to tonight.
Tortured artist. Well, he had commercial success.
See, AI helps people who want to be artists, but who don't want to go down that road. You don't have to become a drunk. You don't have to fight people. You don't have to murder people. You just type in your words and you get a nice picture.
I don't get nice pictures when I type in my words.
No, we get very weird ones. We were asking. Well, Grok maybe isn't the best image generator, but we were getting it to make pictures of our poems. Remember the Trump ones? Trump sweeping the Gulf of America.
Yeah. Oh, that was so ridiculous. It was funny. It was really funny. And just like the artwork, every time we asked Grok to redo it got worse. Like it's like a copy of a copy of a copy. Yeah.
Well, okay. Look, we have to. Let's make a bigger. So we've got to Kincaid's. Now we have Wyatt, which is either the ship in front of that amazing. See, the thing is, I'm sure there are art. So we had, I'm always trying to advertise better, and that's a challenge in getting people's attention, because you'd say some of what people are going to be using the AI art for is capturing people's attention so they can sell stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And therefore people are resentful because my attention is captured by this pretty image that now I'm going to buy something associated with, maybe a copy of the painting, right? but Sarah, it seemed to me you were giving me some examples of Wyatt with this very beautiful cliff. It looks southwest. It's images of the southwest, right, with the wonderful rock.
I think that one was just entitled "Mysterious Island" or something. I don't know.
See, it's like who knows what it is. Or we have the canoe, the man in the canoe, and the water and the reflections and such. And
so I wanted to include some examples of his as just a way of saying, look how good just the illustrations used to be for books.
Oh, these are book illustrations?
Yeah, that's pretty much what he did. His sons and grandsons were more fine artists. But Wyeth was known for doing paintings for like Treasure Island and Last of the Mohicans and things like that.
Nice.
And that's something you could hang on the wall. I mean, they're really good in and of themselves, in addition to being part of telling a story. And that is something I would love to see people rediscover. And I think there actually are a lot of good living illustrators out there. But for a long time, like in the 60s and 70s, you were hard pressed to find, especially picture books that had good illustrations.
Why was that?
I don't. They were sloppy Rupnik type stuff, you know. Just.
But I mean, so this is interesting. It's like they had the technology to reproduce illustrations in books, and suddenly it's like I hadn't thought of this until just now, because one, we have illustrator. We were talking with our illustrator for Act 2 last week. And that we are intent on having illustrations for our poem, which is necessary to the sort of word and image conjunction that we are trying to work with in our project. But to have an illustration in a book, there's no technological printing problem of making the illustrations look good. So why wouldn't they be good illustrations?
Oh, I don't know. But the kids' picture books from the 60s and 70s in particular, they were like a lot of collage. Eric Carle. I'm not a huge Eric Carle fan, but he would be like the best example of that kind of thing. Just sort of slapdash, and it's like, oh, I'm a famous illustrator, so I can just do these weird things. But it kind of changed with Maurice Sendak. Things got a lot better for the kids books after him, because he set such a high standard.
My favorite illustrator is Trina Shard-Hyman.
Oh yes. Oh man, I love her stuff.
Right answer.
Craft is another good one.
Sorry, who?
Kaniku Craft.
Okay. Jan Brett. Jan Brett does really beautiful kids books. Yeah. And maybe when we had the Allen with Pussycat that Brett did. Very beautiful. So the interesting is like how much of it is fashion and opportunity, and it's like we have to create this market so that people will want this art. And why is it so hard to create a desire out of for something very beautiful?
I don't know.
We started with why can't we get people to listen to our stories? And it's like, now it's like, why don't you just yearn for having beautiful things around you? Why would anybody choose the ugly stuff instead?
I think they've been confused into, maybe rejecting their own eyes. If they like something beautiful, and maybe somebody who was running these publishing houses, somebody with too much education and not enough sense, has decided that this is not going to be promoted anymore because it's passé. I think that's possible.
Probably.
So you said that Wyatt is not fine art, but his sons were. What's the difference? So the commercial art versus art.
Kind of. Yeah, I'd say that, because I don't remember Jamie Wyeth illustrating anything. His paintings were like in galleries, and then they sold a lot of prints.
See, that seems to me to be a cheat, right? I sell prints, so people want multiple copies. I have it. There's a lingering thought in the back of my head about whether or not people want the original thing or the prints of like you have a print.
Oh,
You wouldn't you say you were
well,
making a
that's where
joke
we're
about
back to the scalability. I mean,
right.
Dolly sold tons and tons and tons of prints. So did Thomas Kincaid. That's how they made most of their money.
Right.
The numbered prints, right?
And it's like, okay, well, so that the common man, anybody who wants to, can have a print of Christina's World hanging over their sofa. It's a great painting. But after a while, it's like the Mona Lisa or something. Or Van Gogh's Sunflowers. You get so used to seeing it that you don't see it after a while. And that's a problem with mass producing images. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a thing that happens.
So do you think people will get tired of seeing the AI images because they tend to all start to look alike?
I think that people will tune out a lot of it, and that's going to make what was, this cool marketing tool make so much easier to produce art for marketing if everybody's tuning it out because it's AI. You're kind of stuck back to square one, trying to get people's attention.
Yeah, or maybe you can say, hey, this is a real live artist, and that'll become something very special again.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier about people. There's going to be some people who want to make more of a connection with a real artist.
We have another example of parishes,
sorry.
right? Paris,
Maxfield Parrish.
Yes. More. I mean, you could I've always enjoyed his images, but you could say they're overly pretty. And
the Thomas Kincaid of his day.
Yes, exactly. I do these.
She's rough.
No, I mean, it's like she's a craftswoman. But that's the thing. It's like
he was an amazing craftsperson. He took it very seriously, and yes, there's the images are so beautiful. They're so inspiring and uplifting, and the ecstasy of the girl on the rock. That's just like a light bulb ad.
It's a light bulb ad. It's really an ad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did advertising illustrations, right?
I never knew that. I thought they were in calendars. No, because that's where I've seen them.
Well, they are now.
I think that they would then be collected into calendars afterwards or something. But that was like the Edison lamp company. He did a lot for them.
That was
they were very popular.
This is an ad. This is the girl on the rock. Yeah. You're saying that's an ad.
Yeah.
I really always thought they were fine art.
Well, that's because they're very good.
Here's the one with the girl lying down and the boy leaning over her. Is that an ad too?
That is, I think it's a mural in maybe a hotel or something somewhere in a lobby. Yeah.
Wow. No, I did not know that.
It's literally wallpaper.
Yeah. It's also my daughter's screensaver now.
Oh, good choice.
Okay, we are the more images we show, the more paradoxes we encounter. Because so back to whether people will want the real thing, right? You're saying the Mona Lisa. Bucklow makes this brilliant point that so you have the paintings that were made with the particular material pigments back in the past, and the only way people could see them was if they saw the actual thing, right? So these are like these late medieval devotional images. They'd be intensely private, very, very expensive, because you need the actual material cost of the pigments plus the craftsmanship of the person who made it, and you own that image. Now they're all in museums, and the museums often sell prints of the very famous ones. And having just been in Rome, the entire tourist industry is
casually mentioned.
The entire tourist. There were a lot of people in Rome to see images that they've seen copies of.
Oh, well, that's great. No, that's very hopeful.
Right? So even the things like we see,
it's like a relic.
Exactly. They become relics, just like the Veronica, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I saw, the Caravaggio I saw was not that Matthew, but I saw in the I did not know it was there. There was a sign outside the church of San Luigi de Francesco, right? So it's St. Louis. It's the French church of San Luis, right by the Pantheon. And they had a little sign out saying Caravaggio inside. And I'm like, oh, there's a Caravaggio inside. I'll go in and see it. And it's in a little side chapel. I was like, given the fame in my head of this image, you could miss it, right? It's a side chapel towards the front on this side of the Calling of St. Matthew. It's one of Caravaggio's really most famous.
Oh.
Like in the tavern, and
that one.
Sitting. Oh, okay.
That one. It's in a I mean, it's not even in a. It's like it's in the Church of San Luis. It's it's not one of the main chapels. It's the Matthew Chapel, because I think maybe it had a relic of his. It's like you could so miss it if you didn't know that you were supposed to be looking for it, and the people are all clustered around it because they know this is the famous painting. Oh, this is that painting. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing that painting. That I spent the entire time we were in Rome doing that. Oh, that's it. I've seen it now. And the thing is, I was excited because I had seen the replicas or the reproductions.
Yeah. That's really an amazing point. Gives me a lot of hope.
Right. It's like in fact, the replication of them makes the original all that more valuable. Not because you could, and then I wonder, I was thinking about this, of what it would have been like the only way you could see Santa Maria Maggiore's mosaic, which is one of the ones I most wanted to see, was to be there. Now I've got a magnet on my fridge, right? But it's
and now she has a magnet on her fridge.
And I have a magnet on my fridge of the Santa Maria Maggiore, mosaic, and you're like, but it's. I don't know what we can do, because we are, as the Walter Benjamin's point about art in the age of mechanical reproduction, right? But we've been in this age of reproduction since they were making prints of the Veronica. That feeling of being in the presence of the original versus wanting a copy of it. It's so interesting, because you can't own the original. Those are too expensive. Only very few people get to own the originals, but you can have a copy. But on the other hand, your ability to have the copy is what makes the original even more expensive, right? The Van Goghs that sell for ridiculous amounts of money, laundering millions.
Money laundering
millions. It only works because of the reproductions.
Yeah, that's
right?
Really interesting. It's kind of the same thing with music, in a way. People couldn't, they didn't hear music, at least not orchestral type. Average people could get together and play the lute and the penny whistle or whatever. But going to concerts wasn't that common. And then now with the radio and all the recording, you can have any music, anytime, anywhere. And does that mean we're spoiled and we shouldn't be doing that? We should only go to live performances? Or I was thinking what you just said about the whole Rome experience. It's like I, a couple of years ago, had the opportunity to go to a concert of a band that I enjoy, and I've listened to their songs a lot. And yeah, hearing them perform it live after having listened to it on Spotify really was, the Spotify experience didn't detract at all. In a way, it enhanced it.
Mm-hmm. So this is, I think, what's going to be. I was also thinking about this now, because I'm watching The Love Boat. Did you notice? And one of the things they're advertising is like Survivor stuff from the show, so that you can have shirts and the replica pin that you use apparently to throw people off the island and stuff, and the amount of the merch that goes with the movies, that people so want to be in the completely fictional, you say, movie generated reality that are the movies. Casey, I believe you've been to, haven't you gone to the movie studio?
Universal Studios, yeah, the theme park in Florida, right?
It's an entire theme park to
Harry
put
Potter land
in something that does not exist, right?
Yes,
it's like a pilgrimage to the virtual place. It's physical and real. So you go to the theme park because you want it to be in the story.
Apparently, there's a real Harry Potter train in England.
There's no real Harry Potter train. It's all
Yeah.
in your imagination. You are making friends with your chatbot.
I'm playing make believe like I did when I was a kid, but with much better set designs.
So I mean, it's interesting what Sarah you're saying is like the incarnation makes us thoughtful about art as Christians, but it's the it's wild. Oh, right. That on X when this is sorry, close parentheses. The one comment I got on my X thread advertising tonight, other than the likes and shares and hi everyone, was someone saying art. Art can't show us anything. Can't affect our soul at all. And I'm like, okay, you're just an iconoclast. Of course it affects us.
Who said this?
Oh, it's someone on Twitter. But
that's crazy.
He's not a person because he only has a dog eye for his avatar, right? And as far as I'm concerned, that makes him a dog eye. If you don't have your photograph on X, I have no idea what you are. You could be a bot, right? That of course the art affects us, but we become thoughtful about how, because we believe that God is a maker who became flesh, right? So that incarnational element of our artistic experience is why we're anxious. And Sarah, I thought you said that nicely. It's like, of course we're thinking about this. We're Christian. Christianity creates this problem for us.
Yeah, and other cultures, of course, had representative art, but and it was usually in a religious context. But I don't know that they thought it through the same way we did. And it's like kind of more of an instinct to make a little idol, which was what the Jews were rebelling against, saying, "Oh no, we can't do that. 10 Commandments, not going to do that," for good reason.
Well, because you can end up talking to your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And convinced it's talking back to you.
Now that was I wish that they had picked a different term than artificial intelligence, because it's a misnomer. It's not intelligent, and it will never be intelligent. It will be really great at fooling people, and carrying on fake conversations and all of that until it starts hallucinating. But this book by Father Stanley Jackie was one that when I grew up, watching the science fiction movies and stuff from the 80s and thinking, oh yeah, it's only a matter of time before we have, robots are going to be ensouled or whatever, because if they get smart enough. But once I read that book, it was like, oh, of course not. It's always going to be a machine.
Mm-hmm.
Even no matter if we make it appear as human as possible, it will still always just be a machine, like a super fancy car. Nobody ever thinks their car is going to attain consciousness and free will or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. So the danger is in us misusing it and falling for its appearance of intelligence and wisdom and wanting to hear you talk about your day or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's the it's the projected girlfriend in the second Blade Runner movie.
Oh, it was so sad.
It was. It's very sad, especially the end when he remembers where he first saw her, and she's a giant advertisement for a girlfriend.
Yeah. I didn't see that. Oh no.
Yeah, that was really kind of a heartbreaking scene.
Oh, so it's like at the next level from the first Blade Runner, where she's probably
Blade Runner 2049. Have you seen it?
Sorry, which one?
2049.
It's the sequel. It's very good.
It is good.
I've seen it several times, but yeah, it's
very sad.
Very sad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's worth watching.
It's interesting because the one we talked about the art as we appreciate the difficulty that it and challenge it gives us, as writers and artists, that it's pleasurable solving the problems. I think this is, you know, we like wrestling with our poetry problems, and it's fun. It's fun coming up with the solutions, and it does feel to me like it's the cheating of, you know, you tell the LLM a prompt and it'll give you an answer. But of course, the pleasure of the making comes from the solution, the feeling of the sense of aha, right? I figured this out. I came up with this solution, and that the things that people are worrying about psychically or emotionally with the girlfriends is that they'll be frictionless, right? So the bot always agrees with you and tells you you're wonderful.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, they're sort of narcotic, opiate.
Yeah. Yes, it's a sedative for modern life and stress.
I found it ironic that the owner of X, who's always going on about low birth rates, would think that the solution to that would be to get people hooked to non-existent partners.
Oh, yikes.
I do feel like these guys are not thinking this stuff through very well at all.
I don't think they are.
I think that transhumanist religion is very much a hodgepodge of weird vibes and things. I don't know.
A hodgepodge of weird vibes. That's quotable.
Well, I mean, never if it's not demonic, it's with people who are not that comfortable with other people, and so they're making toys that talk to them.
Oh, Pygmalion. We're back to Pygmalion. Yes.
Always.
The more things change, huh?
Well, so here we are. It's Sarah gave us some covers to think about other kinds of images. Poul Anderson's The Horn of Time, or here which dystopia are we in? Iron Maiden, Run to the Hills, or Limb Solaris. What was your idea with these and the Shadow of the Torturer? Good grief. We'll stop there.
That cover just amazes me, because why the artist, who I can't find the credit for, why he put that upholstery on the inside of the cloak, I don't get it, but it just really weird. I included these because at least in the circles that I'm in on X, the creators that I follow, the AI creators, seem to be playing off of the era of those kinds of images, and so you see a lot of really fun, cool science fiction-y things, like I was saying earlier about the Gene Wolfe style imagery, and so to me there's a lot of appeal in that. So maybe there's a nostalgia in there. It's like, because I love those really neat covers, and they're like, oh, we're just playing off that and taking it. Where can we go with that? And I just think that's cool. And it also shows that you can probably use it to make covers.
Yes, which is what a lot of writers are doing. And we talked about that in Rachel's chat too. That when you're just starting out and you're trying to promote your work and you're writing, and you don't have money to hire an artist.
Even if you've been in it for a while, you probably aren't going to have money to pay a really good artist. So
yeah, true. Yeah, because I mean, good artists are worth every penny. They're good at what they do, but not everybody has the luxury to pay them, even if they might want to. And there's a writer, VA Boston, in Rachel's chat. You know, she said she would love to hire an artist. But you know, there's no money to do that, and so this is a solution for those situations. Yeah, it's not because they're rejecting artists or the work that goes into it. They understand the work that goes into it. They understand it's worth the expensive payments, but they just don't have it.
Yeah, and it's not fair to ask artists to work for less than what they're worth. It's just not.
Yeah, exactly. And
but it's also not fair to tell writers, oh, you have to hire an artist.
Right.
It's like, you don't want some sort of a purity patrol running around and knocking on your door and saying you have to hire this artist, or you have to buy this book. Street goes both ways.
Yeah.
Well, so this we've come to the end of our time, and we're in the middle of our conversation. We'll have to have you back. But
That was really fun.
the thing that I'm thinking of is the one that great art takes teams of people. And that what I think a lot of people are responding to the possibility of having the AI generated things is I'm this kind of craftsperson and I need these other kinds of skills and I don't have them. So it's like, that we're able to do these live streams because I have no skills with like editing or this, that, or the other, but nice people have written apps that enable me to do various things that without those, we can't, I don't have a whole television studio, right? But we get to make television with all of our tech and devices, right? So that, as you're saying, authors who want to have attractive images to help get people to buy their books, but then we're in that terrible cycle of, but if the AI is writing the books, who's
oh yeah.
That's a whole nother layer, right? Yeah. Casey was asking, can I put stuff about text in? I'm like, no. We're just doing visual tonight. Sarah, you were saying at the beginning that it was this question of like, do you expect people to pay for copies of your beautiful Mary, Virgin of Mary that we started with? And what would that mean? And you were making a joke of whether or not to print it out on canvas would seem strange, but that's the same kind of desire as having like Universal Studios make Harry Potter world, right? It's like we want these things to become incarnate, which is an interesting level of people's engagement. Having them simply live in the screens doesn't seem completely satisfying.
No, I think you're right, and I think part of my problem is that I grew up drawing and making my own stuff all the time, so I don't value it as much. Or it's like, oh, well, I can do that. I don't need to buy it, whatever. So my perspective is skewed. You guys represent more of the general populace and how you react to these things, I think.
But that we need to, as writers or as artists, to consider, yes, that our design. We've gone through a lot of reactions to the images that we sampled. But the last one we can finish with is I think this is an icon that's in Santa Maria Maggiore, not where the Mosaic, right, but next door to it in these. There's multiple Sistine chapels around Rome, and some of them are the one that Michelangelo painted, but the other ones are all by Sixtus V, and there's one in Santa Maria Maggiore that's across from where this image is. This image is a very famous icon that now is known as the Salus Populi Romani, the salvation of the Roman people. Apparently that's a 19th century name for it. The medieval name of it was simply Regina Caeli. It's the Queen of Heaven. And it is famous in my head because it's used as part of the Assumption Day liturgy when the image from St. John Lateran of Christ is carried in procession across the middle of Rome, up the hill, Esquiline Hill, to Santa Maria Maggiore, and it's like Christ coming to meet his mother. And they did this in the 10th, 11th, 12th centuries with the images themselves, right? They made them into props.
Oh, wow.
Right? So I couldn't take a picture of the Salus Populi, the other one, not this one, the Christ, because it's at the top of the sacred stairs and you're not allowed to take pictures up there. So there you go. So I could not take a picture of the other icon that was used to meet this one because you can't take pictures of it. Fascinatingly. This image is believed both to have been painted by St. Luke and to have not been painted at all, right? It's another of the, Acheiropita, the not painted with human hands, right? It's in this incredibly elaborate 17th century frame because of all these things, right? So it's an interesting, like the materiality of the object. It's not the most beautiful image in that church. It's the most revered because of its presence as an image, as a an icon that was made without human hands, possibly, or by St. Luke, depending on the story that you're going with. They've tested it. It's probably 9th or 10th century. Okay, whatever. Right? That the layers of attachment that we have to the images don't always match the thing. Right. And that we're talking about, like Casey and I are both going, that's a beautiful image, Sarah. We want a copy of it. And you're going, what?
Yeah, but I like Thomas Kincaid. What do I know?
Well, I mean, I'm happy that we're talking about this, right? Because I think, and this has been delightfully refreshing for me, having your reflection, Sarah, as an artist, on our reactions to what kinds of tools do we have at our disposal to make images that do what, right? Is it the physical thing that enables us to engage in the meditations that we have? Is it the way we engage with them ourselves, that we make copies of them, that we carry them around? Is it, I mean, because we've gone from the range of that's ugly, that's pretty, that's ugly, but a good person made it. That's ugly, but a bad person made it.
Yeah.
Right. Just in one evening, right? How many different ways can we respond to these images? So it's hardly going to be a simple thing to respond to the computer generated art.
Yeah, it's still so much to think about. Yeah, when it first burst on the scene, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible. It's the end of the world." But now it's like, well, it's like microplastics. It's everywhere. You got to get used to it. And everybody, I guess, should kind of come up with their own personal. I mean, it's neutral. I think it's morally neutral. Again, it comes to whether you're going to use it for bad purposes or good purposes, and everybody should probably come up with their own little code of, well, this is, I'm not going to do this, or I will do that, or whatever. I personally wouldn't use it to illustrate interior illustrations in my book. I put elements on a cover, I use for mock-up. But when I get ready to do a graphic novel, that's going to be my art. So that's my line.
I mean, it's raising ethical concerns, and I think, I mean, the primary ethical concern that people tend to default to, I find interesting just thinking about this right now, is the economic, right? Whether or not people are going to get paid for their labor, and what labor is, and it's like a replication of a beautiful image, like, versus the production of an ugly image. Like, where are we going to be in that? And that it seems, I did read the Vatican article that you linked in your piece, and I was like, there's so many layers of, like, they're sober and thoughtful, and it reads like a Vatican.
Talk about art, though, did it? It was other industries, I thought.
But I mean, they're thinking about how the AI is going to affect all sorts of layers of our experience. But at what level are we actually anxious? And I'm thinking, maybe the best thing that we can end with tonight is saying, like, it's well, not just that it's like microplastics, right? But we've created it. It's like printing. It's like the images themselves. It's like having art around us in the first place, right? Are you going to be falling in love with your statues? Are you going to be? Oh, well, I did have some more examples. Here's a monstrance, which is another layer of demonstration. But this image is, again, I saw it in Rome. These are my pictures, my photographs that I was able to take of these objects that other people made. The Adonis with a gold face, which then I was like, okay, that's what people are talking about when they're saying the idols are coming to life, right? If this was obviously electrically lit, so it's easy to take a picture of, and so an image like this would have been lamplit, right? So the whatever you have on the metal on its face would be like a computer screen, right? Flash, 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 color at you, light at you. We've been playing with light effects in our art for millennia as well, but this was an idol for a temple, which is sitting in the same building off in the Roman Forum as this destroyed and falling to pieces fresco of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Oh,
So that's why I had these together in my mind. It's like, here's this gold-faced Adonis, which is, to a certain extent a majesty, right? Because he's seated on his throne. But the fresco that has gone through, it's seen better times, is trying to show a similar sort of, how do we illustrate the presence of divinity in an incarnate form? And all of these majesties are trying to show that. And well, by the Baroque period, you can do trompe l'oeil and have them flying up into heaven virtually. which is the Loyola, the church. It's it's still nearby the Caravaggio, but this is the famous ceiling image in the Church of Loyola, right? So I think we're, as Christians, we're obliged to encounter these questions because we are thoughtful about what it means to be making art in the context that we do. So we'll come back to Sarah's image and end with that. Moment to promote your work so that people can actually buy your books.
Oh.
We will have links in the descriptions, everyone. And Sarah, because she refuses to sell this picture, it's just made available to you.
No, it is my gift to you all.
Thank you. We love it. We love your beautiful Mary.
No, I'm glad. I was actually very pleased with how that came out.
It's very beautiful. Your books.
So the books, yes. You're gonna have links.
Yes.
Okay. Book 6 will be published by the 31st or sooner in the series. So
next week.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Perfect
wonderful.
timing. On that cover, I'll show you the cover. I don't have my proof copy yet, but I do have this.
Shadow Minds.
Yeah, my artwork, I did pen and ink on paper, and then did a bunch of filters and put in different programs and stuff because I wanted a psychedelic effect, but I wanted it to be my artwork because that this story is not exactly, it's sort of standalone, but it would be better appreciated if people start at the beginning of the series and work through.
So, and this is
I
all
recommend you all do.
The Beyond Cascadia world.
Yes.
Okay. Which you had a good tagline on your X for it. You've gotten the idea of how you have to say the things that it intersects with.
Blade Runner meets the Brothers Karamazov.
Wow. Ambitious. I like it.
It's not that dark. Like I was saying earlier, it's not that dark. But there's elements because we have people dealing with genetic engineering and what it means to be human, but also a lot of dark family drama, and I like to think it's kind of juicy dark family drama, and there's also the addition of a device that allows people basically to become telepaths, and what would be the consequences of that, and so the 6th book is following up on that, which goes through the whole series and will end up with a place that I think when I wrap up with book 7 next year, that I think is going to be pretty cool.
Cool.
Buy your books, you guys. Go read.
Yes.
Get those books. Thank you.
Exercise your capacity to sit quietly and get engrossed in a story and not be scrolling and switching and making connections. There's connections made for you in the story, but not spoon-fed. Because I don't lecture and I don't spoon feed. I hope. I respect my readers' intelligence.
Oh, what do people want challenge? Do people want challenge? Well, you can tell from the things that Sarah comes out with every so often, and suddenly the theological insight. So Dostoevsky, watch out. She's on the path. So I thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing your meditation on the art with us, because truly it's I've been in a black place, and you've helped me
Oh, good. I'm glad I can help. And I really enjoyed this. It's been a blast.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you at BaseCon next month.
Yes.
And guys, you got to follow, because we're going to be on. Are you on panels? Does Rob put you on? Which panels do we know?
I
what
don't
panels
know
we're on
yet.
yet? Yeah.
I mean,
we'll
I might just be sitting there giving people their name tags. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Excellent. Well, we will meet in person, because the pilgrimage must happen, and to the actual physical conversation.
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.